Training smarter is the key to long-term success when it comes to running, but what exactly does that mean and how do we achieve it? Well, if you're a runner that's always injured or training really well but racing poorly or just generally feeling fatigued all the time, there's a strong chance you might be doing things slightly wrong, but with a few small tweaks can put you on the right path. And this year I've nearly managed to complete 3 training blocks back to back, which for me is a pretty decent feat. Now, I have had to manage a few niggles, but overall I feel like I've been the healthiest I have ever been, and to string these training blocks back to back has been a real achievement, and it all comes down to a slight change in mindset, a slight change in the process, and a few little tweaks along the way that have really helped me. So I want to dive in and share 6 of those things with you guys today. And the first one has been cutting runs short where they need to. Start with something dramatic, sounds bad, doesn't it? And it's exactly not what we want to hear, but it's really worked wonders for me. Now that might be because I'm either running late, usually because I've overslept, and what I would normally do and have done in the past is very much just either get out of bed and get out the door and just want to try and log the time that I was meant to run or get as close to that as possible. Or if I'm running late or whatever, I literally have been in the office all day, sat down on this chair and just get up, get out and go for whatever run that I can. Now, what I found this year in particular is I've really put a big emphasis on activations before runs, so making sure that my muscles are fired up and ready to go. If I've been sat in a chair, making sure I open out my hips, activate my glutes, and do everything that I need to do. And that's a whole separate video there to talk about activations and things, but just as a general rule of thumb, I've gone to myself, right, well, I'm meant to do 60 minutes. I've only got time for 50 because I'm running a bit late, but if I cut it to 45, it's going to give me 5 minutes to run through a little routine of activations and mobility and all of that stuff first. It has made the world of difference, because what would normally happen is I go out there, muscles would be either sort of switched off, deactivated, and I would personally be feeling a bit lethargic, get out the door, straight away start running, either get an injury because my body's not ready for it, or I would compensate in some way, so then muscles would go tight where I'm either not activating my glutes and then something else would take over, my lower back usually, and things like that. And it can just manifest and spiral and just go out of control if you keep getting into that habit. So just stepping back, taking the time, cutting runs short where needs be, and making sure that you're fully activated, mobilized and warmed up, ready to go, has been an absolute game changer. And the second thing for me has been to take the edge off of every workout that I've done. Well, most workouts. Sometimes I'm a bit like an excitable puppy and I want to get out there and see where fitness is at. But on the whole, 8-9 times out of 10, I'm taking the edge off every workout, because I'm thinking to myself, tick this box and move on to the next. I've got training next week, I've got training the week after, I've got training the week after. I want to be fit and healthy for those training weeks. And so what do I mean by this? Well, effectively, when we go out there, whether our coach has set a workout, whether our training plan that we've got from the internet tells us, or whether we've written our own stuff, we'll have a goal with that workout, we'll have a purpose, and we will want to get a certain training effect out of that workout. Whether we're aiming to run tempo work, threshold intervals, VO2 max stuff, whatever it is, we're going in with a purpose. And what I would normally do is I would normally go in and really push that kind of top end of that effort level within my repetition. So I'd really be kind of like really forcing the tempo work, really forcing the threshold work. How fast can I run in this sort of comfortable state? How fast can I run my threshold stuff? And I've just completely dropped that mindset now and just kind of going, right, do you know what? You need to get some threshold reps done and some tempo work done and some VO2 max stuff done. So you're going to go out there and you're going to get into that zone, you're going to work hard, but you're going to keep it controlled and you're going to work more middle to bottom end of that zone. So I'm still getting the right training effect, I'm still hitting the right area in terms of my fitness curve where I want to be hitting, but I'm not absolutely rinsing myself so that the fatigue is higher, so that I feel more tired, so that when I go into the next run I'm not quite as tired out and I am ready to rock and roll and I am ready to get up and go. And this is what it's all about. Again, I keep talking about so many videos, just stacking the weeks up, keep stacking. This is where fitness will be gained, and there's a whole load of examples that I can show you throughout the year, but that's not for now. I just want to make you guys aware. I feel like this is such a key thing. We don't need to be workout warriors. I definitely was one of those in years gone past. I'm definitely not one of those now. I do the job, I get it done, I move on to the next, and I feel blooming good about it. And focusing on strength and conditioning has made a massive benefit to my running. I'll keep this one short and sweet again because I don't want to go into any specifics about strength and conditioning. For me personally, I'm working very much on my core and my upper back and my leg strength. The upper back is a big target for me because it's where one of my massive weaknesses is, plus my glutes, in particular my right side, that's my weaker side. So I really do target equal strength on either side, just to kind of like build up my leg strength, build up my glute strength, so that I don't fatigue as much. Again, I've noticed massively in races, I just feel strong. And even when races don't go my way and I have to switch to racing for position, or I have to switch my mindset because I know I'm not going to hit a target time, I find out that I can often come out on top because I'm feeling strong. So regardless of what the time might be in my body, I can trust it. I know when to push, when to hold, and it all comes down to kind of building up that strength and conditioning. And so for me, I keep my easy days easy and my hard days hard. I tend to put my strength and conditioning on the hard days. So when I do a workout, I then go and do, whether it's core, whether it's upper back, whether it's leg work, whatever it might be, I'll usually do it on the hard days. If I do it on an easy day, I don't want to fatigue myself for the hard day, the next rep day, the next workout day, I should say. So I want to get the easy day to keep completely easy so that I haven't got DOMs, or I'm not feeling any extra fatigue that I need to. So hard days hard, easy days easy. Focus on your weaknesses and work on them. And the fourth thing is to not focus on the numbers. It's so easy to obsess over numbers, whatever those numbers might be: heart rates, distance covered, minutes per mile, minutes per K, power, whatever it is. It's so easy to get obsessed on the numbers that data is giving us. Now, I am one for looking at my heart rate afterwards. It's a great way to measure progress. Great example, I started this training block and I was running my moderate runs in and around the 635 to 640 per mile area, and my heart rate was around 150 to 151 at the start, 149, so really at the top end of my moderate zone, realistically kind of tipping in to sort of zone 3 at points. Now my heart rate for the same pace is much more down in the 141, 142, 143, 144. So it's dropped a considerable amount, and that's where I like to use data. I can see training's working, I'm putting in less effort for the same pace. That actually in effect makes training easier because I'm not then trying to match the effort that I put in week one. All I'm trying to do is, right, I'm running this pace on my moderate runs and I want the effort to get less. So I know that that's a good way to use data because for me it allows me to track progress, but I don't ever go home and study it. It's just a good way for me to look at it and go, yeah, there's some good progress going on there. Shut the app and move on. Now for me, again, turning auto lap off, I've talked about this before, but an extra benefit I found for this is, especially when I do easy and moderate runs, I never look at my splits. I don't look at anything. I just run and I update my description on Strava and I close it. I don't scroll down. I don't look at mile splits. I don't look at anything on easy runs or moderate runs. I can't even remember the last time I did it. It means I just don't obsess over running certain splits and certain miles on certain days. The only time I ever look at that sort of stuff is when I'm trying to run chunks of marathon pace, half marathon pace, and I like to kind of compare heart rate to that mile split and see how I felt, whether it's an uphill, downhill. It's always good to kind of have a quick glaze over, but I just don't obsess over it. And again, just having that healthy relationship with whatever stats that we're given or whatever is just so refreshing. We don't worry about it. We don't worry about setting arbitrary mileage goals. We don't worry about setting any arbitrary numbers for anything in particular. It just makes life so much easier and so much more fun when we're running. And number 5, keep that fire lit, keep that fire burning in your belly by setting yourself realistic targets, realistic goals, race goals, if you like to set yourself time goals. I've achieved one this year and failed on one, but I feel good about it because I've gone for it and I've actually set myself realistic goals. What I often see is people they'll run incredibly well, they'll set a massive PB and then go, right, I want to kind of do that again. I want to take that much off again. And in some cases that can work, but in a lot of cases it doesn't, because as you get quicker, there's diminishing returns. Is your training drastically changing? Are you drastically increasing your mileage? How are you going to achieve this massive chunk of time that you want to take off? There's a lot of keeping grounded that's required during running, and you find that out the hard way. So I'm trying to help a lot of people here by saying just keep yourself grounded and just tick that box. Just go for a PB or go for whatever fitness shape you're in. Tick that box and move on to the next one. So I ticked my marathon box in the beginning of the year after having 2 stinking marathons, got that PB, moved on to the 10K. Didn't get the 10K PB, felt like it was a realistic target. Weather wasn't particularly on my side on both my attempts. I knew what fitness level I was at. It felt good. I moved on to the next. I was a bit despondent, don't get me wrong, but because I felt it was realistic, I didn't kind of like come back down to earth with a massive slap in the face of reality. So I feel like setting yourself realistic goals keeps that fire lit, keeps you motivated, and allows you to roll from one block into the next, one training cycle into the next, because you kind of feel like you just don't get disheartened. You're like, oh, well, I missed it this time. I'll get it next time. Or I'll get it the time after. So yeah, I could waffle on about it for ages, but yeah, do really keep those goals sensible. Do feel free to set yourself, I mean, I set myself lofty goals, don't get me wrong, but have those realistic ones as well, because my word, don't you feel good when you tick them off and you can move on to the next. And the final thing I want to mention is taking care of myself post-run. So usually that comes in the form of my Pure Sport muscle balm that I use. If you watch the race vlogs, you'll see that I roll on Pure Sport Freeze Roll before a race. I actually use that before every run. I've run out at the moment. I'm waiting for more to be delivered, but I swear by that stuff, and I also swear by the muscle balm, not just because of what that muscle balm does, but because what it does for me in general is it gets me into that mindset of looking after my body. So I use their sort of gua sha tool where I sort of iron out the muscle fibers, and it feels really good. So the balm plus the self-care that I'm giving myself really, really works. Then I might use a massage gun, then I might do some stretching, I might do some mobility, and this manifests itself into kind of taking care of yourself in a more holistic way, shall we say, just kind of being a bit more in tune with your body rather than just walking through the door, chucking your shoes off, sitting down on the sofa, seizing up, and then not being able to walk very well. Again, been there, done that. It's just not good. You've just got to think to yourself, I'm going out again tomorrow, I'm going out again the next day. I want to be ready for it. I want to feel good, fit and healthy. So taking care of myself post-run has been a massive thing. I appreciate not everyone has access to muscle balms and massage guns. Foam rollers are relatively cheap and affordable. They're great. I also use those. And yeah, just taking a little bit of time for a little bit of TLC on the muscles once you've got back from your run can make the world of difference. So there we go. Those are my 6 things on training smarter, not harder. I mean, for me, as I said, just going through it all, it really is about kind of almost taking a step back, looking at what you're doing and looking at a year view rather than a week view, looking at what's to come, what training blocks are you going to do, what races are you training for, how are you going to get from A to B all the way over there, feeling good, fit and healthy. Well, that means not thrashing yourself in week 1 of this plan or week 10 of that plan. It means stacking up those weeks after week after week. I know it sounds boring, I repeat that a lot, but it's so key. So hopefully any one of these 6 things, if you don't do anything or you do a few and you want to pick something out of here and implement it into your training, I really hope it helps. And of course, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you do to allow you to train consistently? Please do drop your answers in the comments below. I'd love you guys to share them and for everyone to get talking about it down there. It's always great to help each other out. And if you've got any suggestions or what you would have added to the list, I'd love to hear it personally as well. That's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you in the next one. Until then.